In this video series, we are pleased to introduce some of the writings of Dion Fortune to you. This video is about the 5th chapter, Remembering Past Incarnations, continued, from Practical Occultism in Daily Life, in which she gives practical tips for remembering past lives, which allow conclusions about personality traits and how to deal with our karma. Brotherhood of the Eternal Light, Teaching the Western Mysteries. Remembering Past Incarnations, continued. Practical Occultism in Daily Life, Chapter 5. Chapter 5. Remembering Past Incarnations, continued. The translation of consciousness from one plane to another is best achieved by availing ourselves of the resources placed at our disposal by the simple and universal experience of sleep. When the normal concrete consciousness is in abeyance, the 5 physical senses are closed down, and subconsciousness, with all it contains, is left unguarded and undisciplined for a space. After the light is extinguished, let us sink deeply into meditation on the spiritual essence that we have divined as being at the root of the particular set of karmic experiences we have selected for examination. But let us carefully refrain from dwelling upon these experiences in any shape or form, and let us equally carefully refrain from passing any moral judgment on them, or formulating any good resolutions arising of them. We must simply think of these experiences as the food of the soul, and as teaching it certain lessons. Let us continue like this between sleeping and waking, making no effort of the will to keep ourselves awake, until fragments and flashes of pictures begin to rise in the imagination. These the orthodox scientists call hypnagogics, and has little realization of their significance, nor of the uses to which they can be put. We should never strain after these pictures, nor make any conscious effort to formulate them. They must arise spontaneously if they are to be of any use to us. Let us remember that the skill in the use of this method lies in catching the impressions which are available to us as the mind crosses over from one state of consciousness to another, and the 2 levels are momentarily blended. Then we are, in the words of astrology, on the cusp of consciousness and subconsciousness. We must always bear in mind the fact that the impressions that have value are the spontaneous ones, because these alone well up from subconsciousness. The willed and directed ones are of the conscious mind, and these have no particular interest for us because we can command them at will. Consequently, let us have patience with ourselves, and remember that there is a knack to be acquired in the recovery of those impressions perceived when 2 opposite doors of the chamber of the mind happen to be open simultaneously. The trick lies in sliding easily and effortlessly from one state of consciousness to another with the mind's eye open. It is a trick that has to be learnt, like the art of balancing on a bicycle, and we must be content to try many times, with the most fragmentary results, before we can count upon getting anything worth having, though in some cases it may occasionally be that immediate results are obtained because the memories happen to be lying near the surface. But these are rare. When a definite reincarnation memory is obtained, it is usually recognized by the emotion that surrounds it. We may see a perfect phantasmagoria of the past floating before the mind's eye as we lie between sleeping and waking in the darkness and silence, but it will have no special significance for us beyond that of a generalized beauty and interest. But when a fragment of one of our own authentic memories crops up, it will bring with it all its attendant emotional associations, even if it be no more than a glimpse of the wall of a house where our physical tenement once dwelt. It is this uprush of emotion that tells us that we are on the right track. The moment this occurs, we ought to rouse ourselves and concentrate on this fragment, so that we shall ensure that it shall not sink back again into subconsciousness and be lost to us. It is a good plan to have paper and pencil beside the bed, and to turn on the light and make notes or a rough sketch. In doing so, we shall probably sacrifice a night's sleep, for these memories of the past are upheaving things when they reappear, but they need not necessarily be painful things. It may, in fact, be the fascination of them that drives sleep away for some hours. Therefore, together with the writing materials to record the experience, we should also have the means of a light meal, such as biscuits and milk, in order that the gates may be closed again when the opening has been explored. For there is no formula so effective for closing the gates of consciousness as a little food in the stomach, especially hot food. Next day, we ought to try and ascertain to what period of history and to what country the fragment we have recaptured belongs, and then soak ourselves in the literature of that period and country. To this end, historical novels are very useful, for they help us most effectually to see the past as a living human experience, and not as a dry as dust record in a museum. To this end, we should also try to obtain illustrations of this epoch and place, and especially to see, and if possible handle, the actual relics of it, such as may be found in museums. If we can by any fortunate chance possess ourselves of some authentic relic of this part, which shall act as a magnetic link, our experiment is greatly simplified, and whatever we obtain will come with much greater vividness. The imagination will gradually build up a picture of this time and place, and if we are wise, we shall limit ourselves strictly to one incarnation at a time, for we shall not only become confused, but form a very bad psychic habit if we let the pictures of two or more incarnations run together and superimpose themselves on one another, like two exposures on one plate of a camera. When the conscious mind has supplied itself with the necessary furniture and properties, we shall find that the fragments of memory are beginning to use these symbols and pictures in order to clothe themselves with flesh and dwell among us, as it were. In other words, the conscious mind is using these symbols and pictures to give form to the intangible impressions that are rising to the surface of the subconscious mind under the invocation of our interest and desire. We shall always know any genuine memory by the emotion it evokes. Once a definite set of memories has begun to formulate itself into something coherent, we shall find comparatively little difficulty in applying the method to incarnation after incarnation, though we shall always find it easier to get the memories of incarnations when the body was of the same sex as the present one than to recall memories of incarnations when it was of the opposite sex. When we have gained proficiency in the method, however, it is a valuable experience to force the mind to recall memories of incarnations in a body of the opposite sex to that which we now occupy, for it gives a great expansion of consciousness and understanding, and it is an experience never to be forgotten. Violet Mary Firth, also known as Dion Fortune, was an important British occultist, ceremonial magician, and author. The Brotherhood of the Eternal Light is in direct lineage with the tradition of Dion Fortune and recognizes her as a spiritual ancestor. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comments. We will create a video to answer your questions after this video series. Would you be interested in us commenting on the writings of Dion Fortune and explaining in more detail her teachings in spiritual philosophy? If so, let us know in the comments. Visit our free online course on Western mysteries and Kabbalah or our live events on these topics. And if you haven't already done so, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. See you soon in our next video.